Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary, Ashton, and this is WWE catch-up commentary, where we'll be recapping Raw and SmackDown from what, Ashton, the past 2 weeks?
Correct.
Awesome. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. I was even telling Ashton earlier that when it comes to these pandemic shows, especially now that they've got like Full Sail padding out the audience, which while I feel bad for them, I do think is a clever tactic because it creates at least some semblance of atmosphere that I think NXT's really got the pandemic shows down to a science. Then I would put SmackDown, but to be fair, I think they're more neck and neck. It's not that cut and dry. And then Raw dead last. How do you feel about it, Ashton? How are you feeling about these last 2 weeks of programming for Raw and SmackDown?
Yeah, man. And really, I think this week really sealed that for me. Because to me, this week's Raw was awful. Like, it was borderline painful to get through. It was so bad. And SmackDown this week felt like a fucking breeze. Like, I get there's a difference between 3 hours and 2 hours, and maybe it's harder to fill out a 3-hour show than it is to fill out a 2-hour show. That makes sense. But 3 hours shouldn't feel like 5. And it's pretty cool when 2 hours can feel like an hour and a half, you know?
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. So, without any further ado, let's just dive right into this because I'm feeling good. And hopefully we really get to talk about the stuff that I know is kind of lingering from the past catch-up commentary because some women are lighting the world on fire. I'm looking forward to celebrating them. But we're going to wait on that. I'm a patient man. What are we starting with, brother?
Well, we're starting with Raw. We're starting with Raw, and we'll start with the worst things on Raw. I actually do have Raw in order. I didn't really think about putting SmackDown in order because it's just like, what's bad on SmackDown? You know, there's one little thing that we can talk about on SmackDown that qualifies as heat of the night. But even then, it's something that happened before the thing that made it a heat of the night really reared its head, as far as I know. So let's just get into Raw. Let's talk about the dumbest thing going on Raw right now, which is the Street Profits Viking Raiders feud.
I mean, we really kind of got into this last week, so I don't want to kind of belabor the point this week. I just feel like this completely takes away, or 2 weeks ago, my apologies, it completely demystifies Viking Raiders. I think it's actually a regression, if that's possible, of the Street Profits. Because, like, my understanding now, I want to point out again, I really have checked out of these pandemic shows. I really have not cared because, like, I guess I really am relying on the third man to carry me through it. It's actually very similar to our live reactions on a bad pay-per-view. I kind of rely on you guys to get me through it and the energy you generate. But my understanding was when Bianca came into the fold, which I don't even know what she's doing now because I feel like I haven't seen her in a while, they were getting more serious and taking things more seriously. Why? Because Viking Raiders are a serious team and a serious threat to the tag titles. So I like that story that, you know what, the same, hoist your red cup up and, we want the smoke and just that energy. It's good and they should be unapologetic about it. But sometimes you need to make that energy something else to really be credible, to really be viable against a legitimate threat. That was a very simple, very compelling narrative about a team that I think really straddles the line between serious and comedic against a team that is just straight up serious. I think is one of the best tag teams of this generation.
Yeah.
If you really follow the Viking Raiders career like we have. And you reduce it to this, and I'm like, wow, again, further proof. Say what you will about tag teams like the Revival, because I know they weren't everybody's cup of tea. I know we love them. But even if I'm not big on AEW, I understand why they left because they said, like, WWE just does not care, except for NXT, about tag team wrestling. And this just kind of exemplifies that fact because you could have gone with the very simple narrative, and now we're doing axe-throwing contests and, like, basketball contests, and it's like, I'm sorry, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's a disservice to both teams. And it's a disservice to a really unique story you could be telling in the confines of this division. So I'm just going to pass the buck over to you so as not to belabor the point. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I really have hated these. And, like, there's almost a weird camaraderie forming. But the thing is, you're not going to be a fucking 4-man tag team. That's not a thing. You're not going to do that. There aren't 8-man tag titles that you can contend for, like there's literally no point to making these two teams friends with each other, even though that's what the angle seems to be going towards. It makes no sense to me. I agree that I hate that this is, like you said, demystifying or demystiquing, if you want to say that, the Viking Raiders. Like that we talked about it on our last catch-up commentary, which is no longer up on the channel for, seemingly obvious reasons. The Viking Raiders went from being these like intimidating badass dudes that would, you think of them as guys that would like start their own fires to roast their own fucking kills off as fucking nerds who like to cosplay at the Renaissance Fair,
Exactly. Yeah, really nothing more you can say than that. I don't know when they're ultimately going to have their tag title matchup, but the sooner they do it, the better. And I'd be all for the feud continuing if it changed direction, but I doubt that that's going to happen. So let's just move on from the feud altogether.
All right. So then let me ask you this. Do you want to touch on our the one thing on SmackDown that could be considered a heat of the night before we get into the rest of the stuff?
Sure.
Forgotten Sons were still being promoted last Friday. Not this week anymore. So it seems like they've amended that.
I guess they were forgotten. Yeah, that's really all I've got. The promos were cringe. Jackson Riker, obviously, he has First Amendment rights like everybody else. But just look at Kevin Owens' Twitter for my response. Copy paste.
Yeah.
Because we stand fucking Kevin Owens in this household. That's all I got. Anything you want to add?
No, I just wanted to address the elephant in the room so that we could move past it. Now let's get into the next worst thing going on Raw lately, which is they are treating Edge versus Randy Orton like it is literally going to be the greatest wrestling match ever, and that's what they're billing it as. And they are way overhyping it, and it's probably going to get way too much time when it actually does happen, and I hate everything about it.
Again, I want to keep my comments brief here. This is just WWE telling on itself for what a petty company that it is, because I feel like their WrestleMania match was universally panned. It must have been for them to have this kind of response. You know what I mean? Because it was so simple. It was so simple. Edge's first proper match back in over 9 years. And you run with that shit because, again, and I cannot stress this enough, Edge has been fantastic. Like, I really hate that I'm even complaining about this feud because I have loved his promos. I think every time he speaks, I believe it. You know why? Because he's been without this for 9 years. So he probably believes everything he's saying. Orton, for his part, I mean, it's Orton. He's going to do a serviceable job. I don't think anything too exceptional, but nothing too, abysmal either. But WWE's promotional machine going this route, I'm telling you, man, it's a goddamn troll job, and it's a shame because... And again, Edge is the one I feel the worst for here. Well, yeah, because I was going to say that, like, Edge must have wanted to do stuff other than this, man. I mean, come on. You get cleared after 9 years.
The first guy that he really interacted with when he showed back up was AJ fucking Styles. I can't imagine he's too happy about AJ having gotten traded to SmackDown in recent months.
Exactly. So, like, yeah, when I say it's minded working with Orton for the Mania program, it was personal. It had teeth. But after that win, it's like, I signed a 3-year deal. My health, I won't say is like touch and go, but I bet you they got him on like a Daniel Bryan thing where he's reevaluated after every match. So like, if I'm going to have a match, like I want to build a new kind of body of work as like my farewell. Again, the whole thing, right? Going out on my terms. And now we're doing this shit. I feel like they're fucking around with this man when they really had no right to have him back again. It's a miracle they have him back again, and they're doing this. So I think that's what angers me about all of it, is that this isn't just two performers doing some fuck shit, right? Like, these are very unique, special circumstances, and it's just infuriating that this is what WWE does with the gift that they've been given. So that's all I got there.
Yeah. Let's kind of transition from stuff that we actively hate to stuff that we just kind of don't have enough to work with. Liv Morgan has been cutting promos, and I guess the theme is she still doesn't know who she is. And really, at the end of the day, this just kind of feels like WWE wants to keep her on TV, but they have no fucking clue what to do with her.
Dude, it's such a shame, too, because Liv really does have it all. I mean, Great look. She's solid enough in the ring to be like a sympathetic, babyface women's champion if they'd ever put the strap on her. I don't think her promos are bad. I don't think they're anything exceptional, but God, I can listen to her. If you give her a 10-minute promo and you give Lana a 10-minute promo, I'm sure there'll be nuggets that I really like in the Liv promo. Whereas with Lana, I don't even hear it halfway through because I would have busted my ear against the wall and made it bleed and popped my eardrum. So
and
it's
it feels like they get a similar amount of talking time each week, doesn't it?
It really does.
Which is to say, not much.
Exactly. It's just really a shame that, in my opinion, they've just dropped the ball with Liv because her vignettes were interesting.
Yep.
And I guess this has the potential to be interesting. But again, it's like...
That too. And Liv has just been getting vignettes ever since for no reason whatsoever.
It was a freak... Like, I'm glad you mentioned that because let's walk that back a little bit. The Liv win over Ruby came way too easy. Like, that should have been a story where she really had to earn it.
It should have been a mountain that she had to climb, right?
Exactly, but it wasn't a mountain. It was a fucking anthill that she just dropped over. It was a speed
bump. Yeah, it was a speed bump.
Exactly. Are we still live? Because I'm seeing an error occurred on my thing. Are we still good?
Try refreshing. Sometimes that happens.
I did. Okay, we're good. I'm sorry about that, folks. I just wanted to check. But yeah, it was an anthill.
If you ever experience that and you wait a few seconds and then you refresh and we're still not back, we might have a problem then.
Okay, yeah, but I see the background, I see everything. But yeah, it was an anthill she jumped over, and really, and I know it would have hurt regardless without a crowd. But this is something that you could have like had culminated a pay-per-view, have Liv win in like maybe a 15-minute matchup, and then you know what? You position her nicely as a potential contender. Now, because you had her beat Ruby, I think like twice in a row, back-to-back weeks, Ruby's on main event, and now Liv's cutting promos because, oh, that's right. What happened after she beat Ruby in back-to-back weeks? You had her interrupt Charlotte Flair, and Charlotte beat her.
Like, yeah! Wow, I actually forgot all about that.
Well, see, you reminded me of like the Ruby, well, not reminded, but you like properly contextualized it for me because I wanted to talk about it, and now I kind of brought this to the table. Yeah, I like that she interrupted Charlotte at first, and I'm like, oh, you know, if Liv got an upset win, they could have her down on NXT for a little bit, which I honestly don't even think would be a bad thing for Liv to return to NXT. Yeah, sure now.
See, that's my thing. I don't like it when former champions return to NXT. Like Finn, I wasn't a big fan of until he turned heel. Obviously, Charlotte, I hate. You know, little examples like that. Like, you don't want... If somebody's already conquered NXT, there's no reason for them to come back to NXT a few years later. When they're in kayfabe, they've improved. So, like, obviously, they're going to be even better than they were back in order to just reassert their dominance. Like, it's stupid to me. I just can't wrap my mind around how that's a good idea. But Liv never did. Like, a really cool idea for Liv would be to go back to NXT, try winning the NXT Women's Championship, since she never did in her original run in NXT. And now it's like, oh, well, she's worked so hard to improve, and she wants to start back from the bottom. She wants to try and win the NXT Women's Championship before coming back to one of the main roster shows to try and win one of those titles, right?
Yeah, but I mean, Charlotte dashed any hope of that by beating, you know, Liv straight up. Yeah. And yeah, that was another interesting story they could have, which like, no, that's totally separate discussion. I really don't want to have it because we already know. I was going to be like Charlotte's NXT champion, and yet she's not elevating anybody when as that kind of champion, you think you'd be giving people more rubs than if you were like a main roster women's champion, which I get is like a different context. But no.
Do you realize also that Liv's first real interaction with Charlotte since when Charlotte beat her on that episode of SmackDown and she said, next time you see me, I'm going to be real, was that match?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and now
talk about a dropped angle. Jesus Christ!
And now Charlotte Flair's given her an identity crisis not once but twice because now she's doing these vignettes.
Because now she doesn't know who she is again. Yeah.
God damn it, Charlotte! All right, what else? Well, you said that was like the only heat of the night there.
Well, no, I said that we were kind of outside of heat of the night territory, and that we were more moving into like vague, like don't know what to do with it kind of things.
Right.
The only other thing that I wanted to talk about before we get into what I consider to be the really good stuff is less really bad, less really good, and more just like, yeah, whatever, fine, let's just get past it. Truth and Gronk cutting promos on each other, and then this week, Truth winning the 24/7 title back from Gronk.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Gronk situation is a mess because I guess he's done with the company now, right?
Yeah, he's done with the company, well, because he's got to go play football for the Bucks. Like...
Yeah.
Literally, the NFL season starts in like 3 months. So.
Jesus. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Title's back with Truth. I mean, credit to Truth. He'll always try and make that title entertaining. He'll always try and get it over. And I think him and Drake together, that was the hottest period for that title.
Yeah.
I just really haven't cared ever since. I haven't cared for the Pretty Ricky stuff that Truth was doing, kind of leading up to this. Now he's champion again. We'll see who takes it off of him this time. And maybe they'll hold it for like 2 to 3 weeks. Who knows? But yeah, that's really all I got to say about it. I really just don't care.
All right. So then let's get into the 4 big angles going on. Actually, I take that back. There are 5. Anyway, so I feel like we might be not live right now. I'm waiting for some kind of signal that we are still live.
Yeah, brother, I wanted to ask you actually if your internet's okay, because you have been Robot Voice a few times, and I'm doing a speed test now, and it doesn't seem to be me. It doesn't seem to be. So, am I sounding okay to you?
We should be live still. Let me do a quick speed test, I guess. I hate doing these live because I feel like it fucks up my internet connection, but download looks fine. Download speed looks fine. Friday nights.
Man, fuck Comcast right now.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. Exactly. All right.
So, are
yeah.
we live right now, or?
I have no clue, man.
Because I just kind of want to buzz down.
Well,
this
dude, the thing is, I get a little message on our actual, there's like a dashboard in the YouTube studio thing where I'm actually seeing like chat and stuff, and it shows me like how many viewers and how many likes and the chat rate and the playbacks and the average watch time and all that stuff. And it's like a stream status, stream health is what it's called. And just since we've gone live, I've gotten probably 2 or 3 dozen warnings that the stream is either too low of a bit rate or no data is being received. So it's been rough. Let's just keep powering through it. Let's hope that we manage to, get through this without it going completely offline. So anyway, we were talking about R-Truth and Gronk, right? Or no, we were talking about the Iconics, right?
Yes.
Did you ask me a question?
No, we were just saying that
I didn't want the Iconics to get broken up. Right, okay.
Yeah.
So it's interesting knowing what we know now, but the Iconics apologized, then they got interrupted by Bliss and Cross. They attacked Bliss and Cross and posed with the women's tag titles. And then this week, Billy actually beat Nikki with what she used to at least call the boyfriend stealer, which is a sit-out, Uranagi spinebuster powerbomb thing. It looks pretty cool. It's a good finisher for her. I think it's a good one. So she actually pinned Nikki Cross, in which, that was cool before tonight, but now, they're not necessarily at the front of the line anymore, are they?
Yeah.
I'm hoping though that Boss Hugs winning the titles tonight means that they're going to be on Raw next week now, because that might, perk me up for a Raw, at least for a little bit.
Yeah, the division could make some serious moves, especially because if I remember when the Iconics pinned one member of Boss Hog, maybe it was like Peyton pinning Bailey or something like that. You know what I mean? So in a way, all these
didn't they win the
were,
tag titles in a 4-way match? So it didn't even necessarily.
They did.
Be a member of Boss Hugs.
Yeah, but I think it was though, because remember, Beth Phoenix got a glam slam on somebody that I think was a member of Boss Hugs, and I'm just stuck on Bailey for some reason. Okay. And then Iconics stole the pin. Remember? So,
no, I don't remember, but I do take your word for it.
Hooray! That's just as good. But yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on then from the Iconics, because that was really the entirety of what they've done over the last 2 episodes of Raw. Is attack Bliss and Cross, pose with the women's titles, and then Billy beat Nikki this week. So now we can get into our big 4 angles on Raw. First off, let's talk about the opener of not this week's Raw, but the last week's Raw. I think it was 526, maybe? I'm going to have to look. 525. The 525 episode of Raw opened with KO Show. And they call it the KO Show now, not the Kevin Owens Show for some reason. With Asuka, though. Asuka was supposed to be the special guest, but of course she got interrupted by all of her potential challengers, Charlotte, Natalya, and Nyah. And then, we got a everything broke down. We got a brawl, whatever. But then later on in the night, we did get the triple threat: Nyah versus Charlotte versus Natalya. Nyah pinned Natalya because, of course, they've got to protect Charlotte and become the #1 contender for the Raw Women's title. Anything you want to say so far, or should I keep going?
Just keep it going, brother.
So this week, Nyah cut a promo, and she's awful. Like, it's not just that she's dangerous in the ring and can't work. There isn't a single ounce of charisma in this woman's body. She cut a promo that literally looked like she was trying to recite lines for a school play, calling Asuka and Kairi fake and saying that she is the victim, and that at Backlash she was going to expose Asuka for the backstabbing, undermining charlatan that she really is. And then later on in the night, she beat Kairi, which was the match that she busted Kairi the fuck open in. And we now actually have seen it. I posted what my opinion of almost entirely Nyah's fault. Since the actual spot has aired, even Dave Meltzer has come out and said that he thought it was Nyah's fault, and he said that a wrestler with the WWE, a veteran wrestler with the WWE who chooses to remain anonymous because obviously, has also said that it was 100% Nyah's fault. So I am not going to feel bad in any way when I say, fuck Nia Jax.
Yeah, I echo that sentiment wholeheartedly. If anybody here is a fan of Nia Jax or anything like that, obviously you do you, no judgment. But I can't stand her. I think it's a danger that she's employed. That promo to me, you breaking it down, because I'll be honest, I have her on mute because the pain just makes no sense to me. Like, I'm the victim. You guys
it's like
are
she's
fake. Like,
trying to do what Bliss did to her to Asuka.
That's just so off. Like, forget it. You know who I really feel bad for in this situation is Asuka. Because, I mean, she's been a freaking workhorse. It's funny because when I think about who my superstar of the year is, a lot of the top contenders are women. Because I already mentioned to you before we went live that, like, Bayley's kind of taking it for me personally right now. But I think you could also make a case for Asuka with just how much effort she's been putting into these fucking pandemic shows. Yep. Like, I don't want to ignore Asuka either. Like, the woman's been fucking getting it. And I mean that is, like, a huge compliment. So I feel bad for her that, like, this is what she's stuck with, but knowing Asuka, she may even get a decent match out of it at Backlash. We'll see. But yeah, I don't care for Nyah. I don't care for anything that she's doing. And the sooner we move past her as a contender, God hoping she doesn't actually win the title, the better.
All right.
So that's all I gotta say about that.
So then, we got the match where Nyah busted Kairi open. And then later on in that same night, which is again this week's Raw, the June 1st Raw, Nyah also showed up to distract Asuka because Asuka had a match with Charlotte this week, and Nyah showed up to distract her, kind of mocking her dance with wearing her face paint, all that stuff, and that cost Asuka the match because Asuka ended up getting counted out because of the distraction. And again, we come back to, why does the WWE think that these amazingly talented veteran Japanese women are so fucking gullible?
So gullible, and on a lesser note, because I get that this is probably their idea of protecting Asuka while champion, but, like, she really can't just beat Charlotte one-on-one one time. Like, this is another win for Charlotte, even though it was by count out, which I guess I'll take. But Jesus Christ. And to circle back around to your point, like, yeah, I would have rather a DQ because Asuka was less mystified by Nyah doing her stuff and more just like, I'm going to kick her ass. And they do a brawl. Even if Nyah would ultimately stand tall in the end, which I think she did here, if I remember correctly, at least it would have made Asuka seem like, I'm defending my territory, I'm defending my honor, my kind of aesthetic, everything. And no, it's just, what? But that's what I do. Why is Nyah doing it?
Yeah, like, I just really hate, like, it's a stereotype, right? Is like the timid, gullible Japanese girl. Like, it's such a stereotype, and WWE leans so fucking hard into it. Like, they did this with Asuka. Like, even when Asuka was feuding with Carmella, when Carmella was the SmackDown Women's Champion, Carmella had Asuka's number, not because she was the better wrestler, but because she kept tricking Asuka and distracting her and cheating against her, getting away with it. Like, Asuka and Kairi both have a history of only really losing because they are just so easily distracted and, like you said, mystified by run-of-the-mill shit like this. It's stupid. I hate it.
Which, if you think about it, and I hate to be that guy, but retroactively, it does kind of undermine her undefeated streak too. Because how is a woman that gets so easily fooled undefeated for so long? You know what I mean? Like, it really
no one
retroactively
thought to try to distract her during that entire run.
Yeah, like I just feel like to me it retroactively damages the mystique. I mean, God knows it was already damaged, but I feel like in a way it's kind of been built back a little. But this is the shit that undermines it again. So like, you can't have Asuka do everything. Help the woman out for fuck's sake. So yeah, this was dumb, but it happened, and I just want us to get through Backlash and move on to another contender.
That's it as far as that program goes. So let's get to our next of our 4 big storylines going on Raw. Our second one that we're going to talk about. Apollo Crews, who has his full name back, I believe, defeated Andrade to become the United States champion.
Sorry, I was a bit late on that.
I love Andrade, and I love seeing him with any gold. Hopefully, him dropping the U.S. title means that he can challenge Drew at SummerSlam. But at the end of the day, this is huge for Apollo. It's his first championship of any kind in the WWE, and that's awesome for him.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he's solid in ring. Promo, he's there. You know, I don't really pop for his promos, but it's not like
he
again
still
he's
has very much like a happy to be here vibe about him with his promos.
Definitely. But if he wants to kind of make his reign be predicated on like work rate and look at these matches I can have with like these, you know, these top guys, I'm cool with that.
I mean, yeah, dude, that's the thing too, is that the way that he beat Andrade, he actually didn't beat him with the powerbomb. He beat him with the powerbomb this week. Because this, I want to say, or it was it Apollo?
Kevin Owens, I think, right?
Yeah. It was Apollo and KO versus Garza and Andrade, and he beat Andrade again, but this week it was with the powerbomb. Last week, though, he beat him with the UHA combination. I know they don't call it that in WWE, but they don't have a name for it, so I'm going to keep calling it that until they give it one. He beat him with the UHA combination. He used to do that shit in, I believe it was Dragon Gate that he worked before coming to WWE with the, you know, the military press drop over the top of his head, and then the moonsault, and then the shooting star. That like boom, boom, boom succession he called the UHA combination back in the day before signing with WWE, and he actually won his first ever title in the WWE with that combo. That's so cool to me.
It's really wonderful for him. God knows he's been putting in the time.
Yeah.
With Andrade, it's more interesting because brother, you know, you and I share the same energy. Andrade for WWE champion. I just don't know if WWE shares that vision because they've already had Drew beat Andrade in the ring clean, I feel like twice on Raw in the last like month or so. So I don't know if they would want to reorient Andrade as a contender because in my mind, if they were going to do it, you would almost have to put the title on him because otherwise how am I going to buy it when Drew's already beaten him clean, you know, multiple times recently. That said, whatever they do with Andrade, I'm going to be watching with a very, you know, close eye. Yeah. Apollo, though, already his title reign's looking interesting. He wanted to do like an open challenge, kind of bring that back. I love that that's what the U.S. title has really become known for, is babyface champions wanting to follow after Cena, do open challenges. Yeah. He actually names his challenger, though. He says he wants to challenge Kevin Owens. Yep. Great seeing Kevin Owens, and especially after his tweets with everything going on in the world. I know I've been checking out of these shows. I've got to, you know, get back to really focusing on his segments like I would say Kyrie, because I adore Kevin Owens. And, yeah, Kevin, you can almost feel a hint of, like, the old Kevin Owens, like, jump out here, because he says, like, he feels really bad. And Apollo's like, no, Kevin, you shouldn't feel bad. Like, you deserve this. You earn this. And Kevin's like, no, I know I deserve it. I deserve it for everything I've given to WWE. I think he said in, like, the last 5 years relating to his WWE career, not in his overall career. Yeah. Because that's a lot longer, obviously. Yeah.
He sucks. I can't believe that this arrogant piece of shit thinks he's going to win this match. You know?
Yeah, and you know what I was even going to say, too, because you're 100% right for one. And then what I was going to say was, I don't want a Wonder Bread Kevin Owens anyway. I don't want a Kevin Owens to be like, you know, Apollo, I'm so grateful, and let's just go out and have a great match. Almost like when he was, before he became Universal Champion, remember when they had that kind of that round table? And he's like, oh, what'd you expect? All of us to be really nice to each other? Okay, my name's Kevin Owens, and I really, really want to be Universal Champion. Like, that's not Kevin. That's never going to be Kevin. That never should be Kevin. When I think of Kevin as a babyface, I think of a guy, and I know we were just talking because we did TRL today with Unforgiven 2006, a guy that might get busted open the hard way in a match, but he embraces it and he fires up and it's just keep fighting. A fucking hard ass. That's my Kevin Owens. fuck that Wonder Bread shit. Thank you so much, Apollo, and let's just, golly gee, let's have a great match, okay? Fuck out of here. So I loved it. I thought it was great. Match itself was solid too, and you know what? Normally I hate when it's like, oh, you give us a title match only to do the non-finish. But in this case, I liked how these two worked together enough that I think they should have a proper finish on a pay-per-view. So I don't mind it getting interrupted. Some things I think should be saved, even if we are in the middle of, well, really just everything. The world's consuming itself. So good stuff with KO and Apollo this week. I really dug it, and I'm really vibing with Kevin Owens again in a big-time way, and I still want to see him as WWE champion before the end of the year. We'll see what happens with that, but for now, this is a good spot for him.
I'm also waiting for Dominik Dijakovic to be the one to answer the open challenge, because I heard that it was going to be him this past Monday and it wasn't. So I'm wondering if that was something that they wanted to do but just decided to put off, or if that was just never actually a plan and, the report was just false. But if it was something they wanted to do and they just put it off, I'm curious how long they're going to put it off for and when they're going to pull the trigger on that, because we haven't seen him on NXT lately.
Excellent questions, friend, and ones that I'll be excited to know the answer to, because I think Dijakovic has a bright future. I mean, great look. I even don't think his promos are that bad. I think they're, good enough that he could be in that upper mid-card, maybe even a slight rotation with the main event. So we'll see what happens with Dijakovic. But for now, I've got nothing else to say about this story, so unless you have anything you want to add, we can move on.
Here's an interesting nickname that I could use for Dijakovic. Tall Christian.
Well, there you go.
Does that work? He's got the work rate and he can cut pretty good promos. And, he's got a lot of things in common with Christian. He's just a lot taller.
And plus, I mean, Christian's theme was just close your eyes. Dijakovic wants you to feast your eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
See,
works.
there are a lot of parallels. That's a real thing. Tall Christian. I like it. Up next, our penultimate Raw discussion. Seth Rollins. Cut a promo on Rey Mysterio's mask. Talks about, Rey was going to have a retirement ceremony next week. He was going to host it. Then later on in the night, we got Murphy and Theory versus Black and Carrillo, and the Disciples actually won. Theory pinned Carrillo with the ATL, which I believe is just a TKO, and he just used different letters to represent it. Rollins threatened to do to Humberto what he did to Rey if Alistair didn't chill the fuck out and stand down, I think was what the words he used. But that set up for Black versus Rollins on this week's Raw, which opened the show. Obviously, Rollins had to get his shit in first and talk. But Black did beat Seth. Alistair beat Seth with a roll-up counter to a roll-up. And then after the match, Theory and Murphy helped Seth to beat down Alistair and Humberto, because, Humberto had to come out to try and save Alistair, and they both ended up getting their shit stomped in. And we also got this week Rey and Dominik talking about how much of a scumbag Seth is. Rey considering retirement, will never forgive Seth, and Dominik promised an eye for an eye.
Of course he did. God, Dominik, you're so uninteresting. As far as Alistair beating Seth,
do you remember just a few months ago when Rey brought out Cain Velasquez and people were like, is that Dominik?
Yeah, I do. Wrestling Twitter's fucking great sometimes. So
I think it was Paul that did it in the chat too. It was hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, Paul. Is he even here right now?
No.
I don't think he's here right now. We love you, Paul. If you go back and you listen to this, I doubt it. But yeah.
I think he was the first message in here. Yeah, he was literally the first message in here, and he hasn't sent one since.
Oh, damn. Yeah,
he was literally here at 10:30, and he was like, what's up, TWitWoW? Make some noise! And then he left.
Make some noise while I stay silent.
That's the literal definition of a mic drop. Dropped it and walked away.
So yeah. Oh yeah.
Show up! Come out, baby! Make some noise! And then he just walks back.
That was some of the best shit of Jericho's career too. But oh yeah, I remember what I was gonna say before Dominik Velasquez. Fucking Alistair beating Seth to me is a huge deal. Even if it was like a quick, I caught him type of pin, a win is a win. And they're gonna have it that Alistair beats Seth. Yep. I'm hoping for a rematch that's more even-handed. Even if Seth gets the win, the more you put Alistair in those types of matches, the more I think it's he's going to be taken seriously, as a main event guy. So really happy to see that. Humberto getting involved in this, I'll take it because he's a really talented dude. I don't know how I feel about like these like young Hispanic baby faces, like the go-to, like their character trait is I really admire and idolize Rey Mysterio kind of thing, or I really admire and idolize like insert Guerrero, Mysterio, like those types. I wish Humberto had more depth to his personality. Like I don't even know what you could say beyond just him wanting to defend Rey. But hey, it gets him skin in the game. It gets him involved in this. No need to complain. I'm still waiting for Seth's hand to become divine, I guess his gloved hand, so that when he slaps Austin Theory in the face by the providence of God, he improves it. That hasn't happened yet. So
give it a little bit of a sunburn looking look.
I mean, yeah, if there was ever a time for Seth to be one of those preachers that claims, like, I have a divine hand to cure, like, leprosy and shit, like, do something about that face for the love of you, Seth. Jesus Christ.
Bro, the twist is that leather glove is actually the power gauntlet from Lucha Underground in disguise.
Oh my God, I knew Seth was a closet LU, Mark. Well, let's see what else here. Yeah, just to tie this up, I do think a Rey Seth match at a pay-per-view, I'd actually vibe with it. I think it could actually be really good because I think Rey can still go at a level, especially if you have Seth kind of, I don't want to say be the ring general, and Rey's been doing this forever, but I think you get what I mean. Like if Seth's doing like a lot of the work because Rey is older and Rey just does some of the cool spots, I think you could have a really good pay-per-view match. Yeah. I really do. So I'm still looking forward to the culmination of this. And actually one more thing. I lied earlier about that thing being the last thing. I really, really hope that Dominic gets curb stomped because every time he gets involved in his father's bullshit, Johnny Mundo, he gets blasted. Brock Lesnar, he gets fucking wrecked. Like, know your place.
Oh, that's no. You just made me realize that this is how they're going to explain that Dominic paid his dues so that when he shows up and starts winning titles, everyone has to accept it.
All right, that's all I got.
Well, let's talk about the final big story going on Raw, which is the Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley with MVP feud. So on the 525 Raw, Drew was a guest at the VIP lounge, and MVP said that when he offered to manage Drew and you Claymore kicked me, I decided that I'm going to be the one that will end your upcoming championship run. And I love that he said that too, because it told you that like this dude knows how good Drew is because he was that confident that Drew was going to beat Brock at Mania. And that is no small feat, Yeah,
exactly.
Well, say what you will about MVP being back as an in-ring competitor, but this dude is still fucking gold on the mic,
Oh, absolutely. I'm loving him in this manager role. I think this is his sweet spot. We need to keep him here. Like, this is a good pocket for him to kind of work in. Loving Drew as WWE champion, man. I haven't gotten tired of it yet. He just has this natural charisma and likability to me. Like if Drew wasn't WWE champion, the only other person I'd be this hyped about would be a babyface Kevin Owens. Because I feel like he has that same likability and stuff like that. But Kevin's got to wait his turn, which, believe me, as a diehard Kevin Owens fan, it does get hard sometimes, but Drew's holding down the fort.
Perfect and he's holding it down WWE really well. Championship lineage over the next year. Drew drops it to Andrade. Andrade drops it to Kevin Owens.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. And then maybe by the time Kevin Owens is ready to give the title up, maybe by then, like a Ciampa or a Keith Lee or a Dijakovic at that point maybe might be ready to take it from him. We'll see.
Yeah. And somewhere in my chain, I would work Alistair in there maybe after that reign to whoever Kevin dropped it to if he's a babyface.
If none of those guys are ready for a world title reign, you could just put it on Seth to transition into the Alistair reign.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
So I'm loving Drew. I am liking that Bobby Lashley is a more dominant tour de force. I even think it's cool that like he's using the full Nelson.
Yeah.
Because I've always been a sucker, and I think even Paul Heyman himself, because it's funny that he's got like such a creative role on Raw, he was always talking about like how you build up a move, and I remember in his kind of seminar on that, if you will, He
bear
used the
hug.
example of Mark Henry and the bear hug.
Yep.
And yeah, we're kind of getting a similar thing here with Lashley and the full Nelson. So when Lashley's booked like this, I actually enjoy him. I really enjoyed his stuff with Braun, and I'm really enjoying this stuff here, which tells me that, yeah, I can get entertainment out of Bobby Lashley being on my TV, but I want him to be a force. I know some people liked it when he was modeling and showing his ass, but I really like it when he's fucking shit up. And I did, and as we always say on here when we get into this kind of territory, take it with a grain of salt. But fucking Meltzer, who I take with the tiniest grain of salt, said that maybe Lashley could win the WWE title during this feud because it's not just going to be a one pay-per-view feud. It could be going as far as SummerSlam into a stipulation match. And given that they said that Lesnar's expected back with the company soon, I guess to do SummerSlam, they may also try and do like Lashley versus Lesnar at the event. So either Lashley fucking McIntyre would continue through SummerSlam, or Lashley would win the title, and then it would dovetail into Lashley finally getting that match with Brock, which, let me be clear, I don't think Drew should drop the title here, but I would like to see Lashley get his match with Brock. I would like to see it. So we'll see what happens.
They can do that without a title being involved. God damn it, WWE.
I agree with you, man. I agree with you.
I know you do. I know that you feel the same way as I do, but that doesn't make me any less frustrated with their dumbasses.
Yeah, because again, and Lashley's been doing good work, no doubt about it. I don't want to like undercut him, but I feel like if you were to book the title on him, you're totally undercutting Drew's momentum here when he's supposed to be the guy right now. Yeah. Like, he beat the top heel and Seth Rollins clean at Money in the Bank. If you don't ride that fucking wave, I think it was wasted personally. Because honestly, if you just want my opinion, I feel like if you were going to do that, you would have just been better at giving it to the top heel in the first place if you were going to have the title reign be premature. So I hope they keep it on Drew. I hope they keep it going, but I do also hope that without the title, you could find a way to a Lashley-Lesnar matchup because I do think there is intrigue there. I've even had friends tell me that they want to see that match, so they'd probably order the network or whatever the case may be, the monetary equivalent, if they are going to do like fucking pay-per-view packages, $59.99 again. Wasn't that a rumor a while back? Are they doing that or no?
I have no clue, man. I have no clue.
Whatever they're doing. I've had friends just really express interest in Lashley Lesnar, and I feel like they'd shell out the money for it potentially. So we'll see. But it's good stuff right now. So we'll just see where it goes.
Yeah, man, I've been enjoying it. We kind of went off on a dialogue about how great this kind of current run of MVP as a manager and Lashley as a competitor and McIntyre as a champion has all been working, but we also didn't really talk too much about the actual segments. So last week we talked about the VIP lounge and how MVP said that he wanted to end Drew's eventual run. Lashley came out and McIntyre claymored MVP. And then later on in the night, Lana and MVP argued about Lashley again. And then backstage, MVP actually did confront the Street Profits, which might set something up eventually. Are we maybe going to get a heel Street Profits under MVP's management? That would be dope as hell. But that's set up for the Street Profits versus MVP and Lashley in the main event on the 525 show, which Lashley actually got himself disqualified for not letting go of a full Nelson in that match. So technically the Street Profits did win that. Then after the match, though, Lashley and Drew had a big pull-apart brawl where the NXT talent at ringside were the ones that were being called in by the ref to pull them apart. So that was a pretty cool ending to that show.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed it. Again, this is how a guy like Bobby Lashley, as old as he is, but still with the physique and everything that he has, should be booked. This is perfect. By the numbers, just very simplistic. You use what you got. And I thought this was great. I thoroughly enjoyed all this.
Yeah. So then on this week's show, we got more argument between Lana and MVP that ended with her slapping him. And then the main event of this week's show was Drew McIntyre versus MVP. And Lana showed up to try and do stuff. Didn't do shit. Drew won via Claymore, but then afterwards, Lashley put Drew in the full Nelson, and that was it.
Yeah. So they're really making Lashley seem dominant, which is important, because Drew does feel kind of untouchable right now. I think Lashley's kind of grounding that reign a little bit, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Just because you're the top guy doesn't mean that you should be invulnerable. I mean, this is kind of a critique that we've had with, like, the John Cena's when he was at his heyday, which, I mean, we kind of experienced today with Unforgiven 06, and Roman Reigns. So I like that, like, even the idea that we're questioning, again, because I refer back to the Meltzer report, that, Lashley might pull this shit off. And, we'll see what happens, man.
It's interesting, too. Like, even though I do think that Drew deserves a longer reign than a 2-month reign, which is what he would have if he would drop the title to Lashley at Backlash, I also, like, it's his first ever world title reign, and the WWE tends to almost do, like, a false start before giving a guy a legit reign. And, like, it really would not surprise me if the WWE put the title on Lashley here, had him hold it just long enough that he could have a match with Brock at SummerSlam, right?
Yeah.
And he would have to retain, though, but that's the big thing that I would be scared of, is that Brock would win the fucking title back. I would hate that. But if they would have the balls to keep that title on Lashley through a match with Brock Lesnar, they could build up to the 2 fucking beast slayers facing each other again for literally, it could be the second time, or it could be for a rubber match, or however they want to advertise it. I think it would be even cooler if it was a rubber match. So you have Drew beat Lashley at like Survivor Series or the Royal Rumble, and then you set up their third match at WrestleMania as the rubber match. It's the giant or the beast slayers facing off to determine who really is the alpha male of Monday Night Raw. You know what I mean? I think that
exactly
a lot with that. And really, to me, the way the reason that I would not fucking despise Lashley beating Drew this quickly is because I think that we kind of see it at this point. Drew's the guy, you know, like there's almost an air of confidence to me about Drew, as far as I'm concerned, at least, that like he could drop the title tomorrow and I'd be like, you know, it's fine. He'll get it back. He's the fucking guy. They can't use Roman right now, you know, and even if they could, he'd be on SmackDown. So like, as far as Raw goes, Drew is the guy. He's the fucking man on Raw. And he's gonna be for a little while longer, as far as I'm concerned, and maybe even for a lot while longer. So like, he could drop the title now, and I would just chalk it up like John Cena had a really short reign before they gave him his really long reign. So like, I would just chalk it up to like, okay, well, that just kind of seems to be the WWE formula. They'll give the guy a short reign first, have him drop it, you know, seemingly prematurely, and then when he wins it again, it'll be a long run. And I think that they could do that with Drew. They could have him drop it 2 months after he wins it, have Lashley go on a little bit of a run with it, have Drew win it back, and then have Drew go on a long run with it, like a year plus even.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I
wouldn't mind that either.
I could see that happening, and I wouldn't hate it, you know? The only thing that would make me hate that is if Drew dropped it to Lashley, and then Lashley dropped it to Brock, and then Brock went on another fucking run of Taylor.
That's what terrifies me the most, is like Brock getting the title back without question.
Exactly. And so, like, that's a thing, though, is that, like, if they would do Lashley versus Brock, I would be rooting for a retention hard.
Yes. Oh my God. Absolutely.
That's one of the rare instances where, like, I would not want. And the thing is, too, I think that they would almost want Lashley to be the heel in that, and have Brock be the face somehow. I think they would try to do that at least, but I don't think that would get over the way that they would want it to.
No, I don't think so either.
Especially if they're able to bring crowds back by then. I think the crowd would shit all over that if it wasn't, you know, literal employees.
Like, bad, but don't play us for fools.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's Raw. Let's get into SmackDown. We already talked about the Forgotten Sons shit, so we don't have to talk about that. Kurt Angle last week announced that Matt Riddle was coming to SmackDown. We got a video package both last week, and then we got another video package this week. I didn't pay enough attention to either one to tell you if they were the same or if they were two different video packages, but still, it's fucking awesome that Riddle is, like, being built up. Like, they're really doing a good job of making him into a big deal.
I'm not going to be as, like, hyped in my predictions for him on the main roster as I was for NXT when I was like, oh, he's going to win the NXT title in like a calendar year. Yeah. I don't know what his main roster run's going to be, but I'm excited to see him mix it up with everybody from like John Morrison.
Honestly, dude, I think that I will go out on a limb and say that I do think that Riddle will win the Intercontinental Championship within the next year.
I can tentatively sign on to that because I just feel like it's ridiculous that the only title he won in NXT was the tag titles. With like, wait,
who did he win? With Dunn, that's right, with Dunn.
Yeah, Broserweights.
Yeah.
But yeah, Intercontinental title, especially dude, if it's held by an AJ Styles or a Daniel Bryan by them, like, oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah.
I am fully expecting Daniel to win that thing.
We'll see if your mind changes next week because that's when we'll be doing Backlash preview. Well, actually, no, we won't even be doing that. Match won't be on Backlash. It'll be next week on SmackDown. So I guess I'll say, since it's not on a pay-per-view, I think AJ Styles is winning. Because they even made a point that it's the only title he hasn't held and it's fucking AJ, and he's a heel, and like Bryan is the most selfless.
You know
guy
what
in the
though?
company,
I was gonna say too. I was even thinking that tonight when Gulak beat Styles, which we will get around to that. That might even be like the penultimate discussion that we have of this entire commentary. When Gulak beat Styles, I was like, are they gonna have AJ beat Bryan so that Gulak can beat Styles to prove why he's the coach and Bryan's the student?
Oh, dude, that'd be fucking excellent. We'll see. But yeah, dude, Riddle just getting in the mix with Bryan, Strowman, even the bigger guy, Nakamura. Like, SmackDown's a good place, shaken up yet. And hopefully even after the shakeup, it would just be, more quality competition for Riddle. So
when do you expect the shakeup to be? Do you think that they're going to have it be around the same time that it was last year, which I think it was like October-ish?
Yeah, we'll go with that. That sounds good to me.
God, I hate that. To me, see, this is where, God, we're 5 months away and we're already, or at least I'm already complaining about Survivor Series not having any stakes. How great would it be if the winning team of Survivor Series got the first pick of each round?
That would be freaking great. Yeah, I'd love for them just to do anything with Survivor Series, and that's a great idea.
Or even better, you get an extra pick at the beginning of the draft. Like, okay, so let's say the Raw men's team wins the Survivor Series triple threat 5-on-5-on-5 match between the brands. Raw would get to choose a male superstar before the draft even begins. So they get like a pre-draft pick, right?
Yes.
Say NXT wins the women's, like they did last year, when they win the women's 5-on-5-on-5 Survivor Series match. They get to pick a female competitor to draft before the actual draft starts. Like, that could be huge. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Oh, dude, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just think that there are ways that they could be creative with the shakeup or with the draft or however they want to look at it.
Yeah. I wish they would be more inspired with that kind of stuff rather than it just being, yay, your brand's the best, bragging rights. Yeah, it's
and also, to be fair, the problem with mine is NXT isn't treated as a third brand. It doesn't have equal standing with the other two brands in the shakeups or the drafts. It's basically like everyone on NXT is available to be shaken up from, but nobody, NXT doesn't get any picks to get anyone shaken up to them.
Yeah. All right. So I'm excited for whatever Riddle does, and yeah, we'll just have to wait and see when he debuts. All right. So we can move on.
Let's move on to Sonya and Lacey. They had a match last week, but it went to a double countout. And then Sonya said, "Oh, we'll fight again, but it'll be on my terms." And then this week, Lacey was making her entrance. Sonya attacked her, and we got another match. But then Mandy showed up on the Titantron, which allowed Lacey to pick up the win with a clean woman's right. So Lacey Evans cleanly defeated Sonya with a little help from a distraction from Mandy Rose. But that's like a personal thing. So in that case, it makes sense to be distracted. And Mandy called her a failure.
Yeah. Ooh, what a burn. Yeah, dude, I'm going to be...
Burn!
I don't want to shit on this match because nothing looked bad in it, but I will say one thing that just totally took me out of it. They had the worst, most awkward, ref spot I've seen in a while.
The eyebrows ref. That? Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, what the fuck even was that?
And dude, I almost wonder if it wasn't meant to be a storyline, if legitimately that ref got injured and had to be taken out of the match because he couldn't fucking stand. Like, if it was like a Vince McMahon double quad tear kind of thing.
I was low-key wondering that too, dude. Because there's no way, this is just way too awkward. What the hell?
Yeah. I'm under the assumption that was a legitimate problem that happened because they replaced the ref and then moved on like that never happened. They would not have done that if it was some kind of an angle, if it was some kind of a work. So it makes a lot of sense to me that it would just be legitimately that ref somehow got fucked up. Maybe it was his ankle, maybe it was his knees, maybe it was some kind of a quad issue. I don't know, but something went wrong with his legs that he literally could not stand up from that point.
Yeah. But as far as the match itself goes, it was fine. It was fine.
Dude, I just want to say, we have our qualms about Lacey Evans, Macy Estrella, I guess, as a person and her views on certain things. I think she's getting better, man. I think that she, I've always, not always, but I've said for the longest time that I've really, like, already a few years ago, I thought that she was a better in-ring worker than Charlotte. I thought she was smoother. I thought she sold better. I thought she was just a better overall in-ring worker than Charlotte. And she's even getting better. Like, she's improving, which I can't say Charlotte's ever done. Like, I feel like Charlotte peaked in her second takeover against Natalya, or her first takeover even against Natalya. Like, that was, you know, either that or like the Bayley and Sasha matches in NXT to me were like Charlotte in her prime, and she's done nothing but regress since then. I feel like Lacey's getting even better, and I already thought she was better than Charlotte a few years ago when she was already or when she was still in NXT. Like, I don't know. I won't go as far as to say that I'm becoming a fan, because I don't know if I'll ever be a fan of somebody that I don't like on a personal level. But I'm starting to really gain more of an appreciation for her in-ring work, man. She's clean as hell in the ring.
Yeah. I mean, the moonsault tonight looked fantastic.
It always does. That's the thing. She's the opposite of Charlotte. Her moonsault is more difficult to pull off than Charlotte's, because she has to jump from the middle rope to the top rope and turn 180 degrees in the process to jump off of. But then also, they just are so consistently good looking. Like, she always nails it every single time. I've never seen her land on her feet and on an over rotation. I've never seen her completely miss someone. I've never seen her botch a moonsault before. And, like, maybe that's because she just puts in the time and gets it right, but it'd be fucking nice if Charlotte did that.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with all the exposure and everything she gets in the fucking company.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think my only other gripe with this match, because again, as far as like on a technical level, everything looked good. I don't think anything looked bad.
I'm really rooting for Sonya to land that Batwoman role, man. That'd be dope as fuck for an actual active WWE superstar to land that big of a role.
And especially for the Saga representation at the same time, you know, it's just a win-win all around.
Yeah, that too, for sure. That'd be cool too, man. Although, I mean, wasn't the woman that was playing Batwoman, Ruby Rose, wasn't she also a part of that community too? Like, it's not.
Yes.
It's not like it would be like going from somebody who isn't to somebody who is. It's just like a parallel.
No, but you shouldn't regress either, and that's why I'm kind of emphasizing it too.
Right.
You know, so I think it's a win-win all around, and WWE could promote the shit out of it. So yeah, and again, that just goes back to my one last kind of nitpick. I think Sonya got taken like way too easily out of the game by really grade school insults. I mean, I get that it's by the numbers and you need to set up the finish. I just wish Mandy would have come up with something better than "you're a failure." No.
Well, I mean, she talked a bunch of shit first, and it was like this whole thing culminating in, you're a failure. Like, it's not like she literally just said, "Hey, Sonya, you're a failure." Like, she had like 2 or 3 speaking lines before that insulting Sonya and harping on her insecurity.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know what this is going to lead to. If it's just going to lead to like a one-on-one match with these two or what. But Lacey gets the win. I almost have to wonder if Lacey's going to get back in the title picture soon. You know, because who's going to be next for Bayley with the SmackDown Women's title? I mean, obviously Sasha's right fucking there, but I don't know how much longer they want to wait on that.
Putting it off, baby. They're putting it. I mean, hell, at this rate, Ember Moon might be back by the time that Bayley needs another new contender.
And that's going to be the joke. We've waited so long for fucking Sasha and Bayley to feud that Ember was able to get injured, worry that her career was going to be over, and then just be able to come back and have a triumphant story, and they still haven't feuded.
God. I mean, you already traded Mojo Rawley for some ungodly reason over to SmackDown from Raw. Why not trade Ruby Riott and give us a Ruby Bayley feud?
Oh, God, dude, yes.
Or if it needs to be a babyface, do it with Liv. Maybe she'll find herself on SmackDown.
Oh, God, say more things to me. This is all sounding fucking excellent.
Right, though? Either one of those feuds would be so good. And really, I'm almost more excited about the potential for a Liv feud, because with Ruby, one of them would have to be face and it really wouldn't work. But with Liv, she's a really likable face. She sells almost as well as Sasha. Like I've said before, I feel like Liv is the second best seller on WWE's entire female roster, especially if we include homegrown women, in which case she's probably number 1, because Sasha was an indie wrestler before getting signed by WWE. But like, Liv's selling and bumping is in the top like 10th percent, like, you know, above the 90th percentile in WWE as far as I'm concerned. She's great at it, and her pulling off that sympathetic selling and bumping in a match with a dominant Bayley, I think would be awesome. I would love that. I would love to see that. But no, SmackDown doesn't want Liv Morgan. They want fucking Mojo Rawley. Ugh.
Yeah. Oh. All right. Well. No, I'm not gonna try and top that. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. We can move on.
Awesome. Let's move on. Up next, we got a Fast Times at Ridgemont High reenaction from Otis and Mandy, with Otis playing the role of Linda coming out of the pool and Mandy playing the role of Brad, who in the actual movie was jerking off in the bathroom to the thought of Linda coming out of the pool. But in this case, we're keeping it PG, and Mandy just squirts a little lotion to simulate ejaculation whilst ogling Otis in her dream, or in her daydream. This was amazing, but then they kind of ruined it because they played the exact same segment in full, unedited, uncut this week again for no reason, just to fill time.
Yeah, I liked it too. I thought it was more inspired coming from a lower card angle, and then you just kind of do all that, and it's like,
I mean, is it really lower card though, considering Otis is Mr. Money in the Bank?
I mean, yeah, that is, dude, would you believe that it hasn't fully registered for me yet? Like, it's still weird that he hasn't.
That's why I asked that though, because it was like, dude, Otis is Mr. Money in the Bank. Stop calling him lower card. He's borderline main event right now.
I mean, just more Otis himself, I would say, is pretty high on the card with that, but this
you gotta remember, this dude ate chair shots from King Corbin tonight and no-sold the shit out of him.
Is he gonna succeed in his cash-in?
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. I'm not writing it off. I'm not saying he's going to, but I am not writing it off either.
Yeah, I really don't know, man. Like, that's why I love him holding the briefcase, though. I really don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is good stuff, and you already kind of mentioned the stuff with Corbin. I thought that was great too. They're really building Otis up, like in a cool way, because even the tag match he lost with Mandy against Dolph and Sonya. Mandy ate the pin in that.
Yep.
So yeah, they're actually doing a good job with a Money in the Bank briefcase holder, and it's fucking Otis. Oh my god, this timeline. What is this time? Like, never mind. But just everything. And I am happy for Otis though, and I think Otis fans should be just fucking delighted with his booking. Like, he's on such a hot streak with luck, like he could beat the Fiend, and I'd be like, well, I hate it in one way, but in another way, it kind of tracks for Otis.
See, no, so I don't think he'll beat the Fiend. I think if anything, he'll be a transitional champion from Braun to the Fiend, with the Fiend beating the fuck out of Braun, which sets up for the cash-in the first place.
Yeah. Oh my god, if Otis actually cashes in successfully, what the fuck?
Universal Championship lineage: Finn Balor, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, The Fiend, Braun Strowman, Otis Dozovic.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I don't want to get too off track from like the actual content, but because I do like Otis. I don't want to make it seem like I'm anti-Otis, but I just kind of fear that for me, it would be one of those things where, like, in the moment, I would pop, right? Because cash-ins are exciting. Like, that's just the nature of the beast. But then when it sets in, I'm like, oh, well, this is the biggest test of his career. Like, let's see if he passes or not. Because I would be concerned.
Those ratings, Dozer.
I would be curious if he would, dude. Let's see what kind of a draw he is if they really make him succeed in his cash-in. So, yeah, we have to touch on the briefcase because I have to remind myself he is holding it. Yep. And they've got to do something with it sometime. So, yeah, as far as these segments go, good shit. I'm still enjoying it.
Yeah. So then we get to our next little mini feud that's kind of going on right now. Last week, Shorty G set Flip. And then this week, there was a segment where he was about to be interviewed, but Mojo Rawley showed up because, again, I say, apparently SmackDown decided to trade for Mojo Rawley. Why? Fuck if I know. But they did. They didn't even say, I don't think they even said that they traded for him. So maybe he was just like quietly moved over to the SmackDown roster. I don't think that they would call this one of those, cross-brand, whatever they call the thing that they did a few weeks ago with Corbin and Charlotte or whatever it was. But I will say, there was a beatdown here. Cesaro and Nakamura showed up and beat the fuck out of Shorty G. New Day had to come to the rescue, Big E and Kofi. And we ended up with a 6-man tag match later on in the night. New Day with the Midnight Hour beat Mojo Rawley, and that was it. So Shorty is feuding with Cesaro, and I guess to a lesser degree Nakamura, and Mojo just decided to insert himself into it for no fucking reason.
Yeah, fun tag match though. Fun tag match, and yeah, Mojo's a scrub. So that's all I got to say about that.
Okay, then we probably should have talked about that segment earlier because I feel like that was lamer than I remember. But anyway, throughout this week's show, though, Miz and Morrison were harassing Braun Strowman. First, they booby-trapped a drink of his so that it would explode on him. Then they tried to slime him, like with Nickelodeon-style green slime, but they got poor Kayla Braxton instead. And Braun was just like, I'm really sorry, Kayla. I know that this was meant for me, but they got you instead. Are you all right? Braun trying to be concerned was hilarious to me for some reason. But then later on in the night, they got serious, and it wasn't just like simple pranks. They fucked up his windshield on his car. And when Braun found it, he started asking people, where are Miz and Morrison? And the one dude just pointed at this big-ass white van that literally looked like a surveillance van. Like, way to be discreet, guys. And Braun went over and tried to get in, but they locked all the doors, so he just flipped it instead.
Yeah, dude, honestly, because I've been kind of like meh on Morrison with The Miz, because I enjoyed the initial tag title win, but I've wanted Morrison to do singles. But they're making this work, because here's another thing, too. And again, I love Morrison, and I feel like Miz should have been in the title picture again 2 years ago. Like, I feel like they're actually late on making him a contender again.
Yeah.
But let's be real here. They've kind of built him up this last little bit, that anybody really believes that Miz and Morrison can pull this off. No. And I mean, this is coming from a guy that's a diehard
I wonder
Morrison
if they'll
fan.
do something next Friday to be like, okay, they've played their games, now they're going to get serious, and maybe they like actually beat the shit out of Braun, like they actually find a way to beat him down, because that would be the only thing that would really sell anyone on like, oh my god, this 2-1 advantage is really significant. They might actually win.
Yeah, like, personally, I don't think they'd go this far, but I would have the two of them put Braun through the announce table and then just stand over him in that wreckage. And just be like,
or even if it's not the announce table, putting him through a table or using a ladder or using chairs or some kind of something, like weapons for sure. I don't know if they'll be legal, though. It's a 2-on-1 handicap match, but that doesn't mean that there are no rules. I think there are still rules. So maybe it wouldn't be the best. Like, yeah, maybe you're right. The announce table is a good idea. Maybe even like, I don't know. Well, isn't Starship Pain something that could be done from the top rope onto the announce table, or at least a corkscrew moonsault like we saw him do on
Unforgiven today?
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly. I think that's definitely viable. But yeah, I agree with you, because after this, they're going to need a response to this. But I enjoyed the gag saying this is more of a unique way to not only get heat, but appear as a threat. You don't appear as a threat because you're physically intimidating. You appear as a threat because mentally and psychologically, there's no level you won't go to unnerve your prey, your champion that you're trying to like unseat. So I did like it. I thought it was good stuff.
Yeah. All right, man, we only have 2 angles left to talk about. The first one is the Intercontinental title scene, which is Daniel and Jeff and Sheamus, and I think that really kind of covers it. Those 4 guys are all kind of, and then we also have the women's tag team championship. So which of those stories do you want to be kind of our main event?
Women's tag title is going to be our main event. I'm fucking loving everything the women on SmackDown. Well, mainly, the 2 women on SmackDown are doing right now. So,
all right, then let's talk about this is the Intercontinental title. So last week on the May 29th episode of SmackDown, the show opened with a parking lot scene. We saw Elias looked like he had been hit by a car, and then we saw Jeff Hardy being kind of, he was unconscious, it looked like, and then he got carried away by cops and cuffed and put into a cop car while Elias was being put into an ambulance. And the one cop commented, oh, he smells like alcohol, when they were picking up Jeff. So just using context clues, the audience is supposed to kind of put together, oh my god, Jeff Hardy drunkenly into Elias and then into that pole, or at least stumbled out of his car trying to flee the scene of the crime and then passed out in the bushes. Right, so that's like the picture that they tried to paint. Right, I immediately was just like, oh my god, Sheamus and Corbin probably did this together, and it turns out it wasn't even both of them; it was just Sheamus. But then we get to the back, and Adam Pearce is apparently now some kind of an authority figure on SmackDown because he was holding some kind of sort of meeting with the talent talking about the Intercontinental Championship situation because Jeff Hardy and Elias were supposed to be in the semifinals of the Intercontinental Championship tournament that they were doing. And he basically asked, like, how do you guys think we should handle this? AJ was like, I deserve a free pass to the end. I deserve a free pass to the finals. And then Daniel Bryan was like, well, I'd still like to compete against people. And then a whole bunch of other people like Sheamus and Corbin and, random other people were talking about, oh, I want a shot. And then Adam Pearce was just like, okay, I'm going to give everyone what they want. AJ, you get a free ride to the finals. Whatever. You don't have to fight anyone. Bryan, you get a match tonight. And the person that's going to face you is going to be the winner of a battle royal between everyone that wants to be in it. So everyone that wanted to be in it was in it. The winner ended up being Sheamus. Sheamus went on to fight Bryan in the main event. I fucking love the way that was handled. That was cool as shit.
Yeah, well, it makes perfect sense. Look, AJ's a heel, so he wants the path of least resistance, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's the quickest path to the finals? Yep. And Bryan being a babyface again, he's like, well, I love wrestling, so give me all the matches. Like, I'll fight everybody. Yeah, I really liked it too. You and I kind of touched on this before recording. I'm not a fan of them using Jeff's sobriety issues as part of angles.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, too. I want to make a serious note here. Because now that I've effectively retired the scumbag character, I know there were times like with Joe's feud with Jeff that maybe I went a little hard at Jeff and his problems because Joe would say some really cutting stuff to him. I still remember like one of the lines like, you know, Jeff, why don't you pretend that this is an AA meeting and shut your mouth while I'm sharing with the group? And I'm not going to backtrack now. That's still a great line. I mean, Joe's a fucking what daddy material. But, you know, addiction is a very serious problem in this country. I think incarceration is very impotent in the face of these problems. And so I can't fault Jeff entirely when he's situated within structural inequities that just don't help addicts at all. And I speak from very personal experience. At the same time, though, you know, there is always a modicum of agency in all situations. And I wish Jeff would be better than saying, yeah, you can use this because, you know, it just looks bad if he does genuinely relapse again. Like, oh, you made this comeback story, but it wasn't actually a comeback story. And I don't mean that as an asshole. Please understand. I just think it looks bad in long term if, like, you're doing this, but you're not really secure in your sobriety yet. And I can't believe that Jeff is. And again, that's not me trying to be a certain way. It's just like he just got back.
Yeah.
So don't be so quick to do a redemption story until you're comfortable and you've done your process. And I'm not talking like AA bullshit. I'm talking your personal process, what redemption and healing looks like to you. Then maybe we can talk about it. Like with Eddie, because they did a similar thing with Eddie. And he talked about it in his book, how they, you know, because he was supposed to do the angle with Stone Cold before Stone Cold walked out. And it was the whole scene at the bar. And Vince wanted them to put a real beer in Eddie's hand rather than a gimmicked one. And Eddie was okay to do it, I guess, because at that time he was like, no, if I want to show that I could be a company guy, I got to show that they can trust me with stuff like this.
Yeah.
And I never heard about Eddie relapse. And that's not to say one way or the other, but Eddie was personally comfortable. I think Jeff needs to be more honest with himself. And I don't really like it. And plus, on the more technical side and the production side, which I'd like to get to because I am uncomfortable talking about Jeff personally when I really have no right to judge, but that's just my opinion. I just think it's cheap writing. I think it's lazy. I think it kind of makes Jeff one-dimensional in a way. It's what?
Rousseauian,
huh? Yes. Okay, now I know what you mean. I'm like, because dude, I'm such a fucking nerd. I thought of the philosopher. I'm like, what does Jean-Jacques Rousseau have to do with this? But no, you're talking about Vince Rousseau. I'm such a goddamn nerd. I apologize.
Vince Russo to use some real life shit to try and make a wrestling angle out of it.
Yeah, and I think it just makes Jeff, and again, not trying to go hard at Jeff, but I think it makes him a caricature in a way. Yep. It's like, oh, it's that recovering addict guy and like nothing else.
Yeah.
And I will say again, totally unironically, I think that's a disservice to Jeff Hardy, who's had a storied career with this company.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that. I don't like that Elias got taken out of this opportunity. So, like,
well, no, dude. Apparently, he is legitimately injured. Like, I think.
Oh, that's right.
Fuck. I think the torn pec thing is the real thing, and the broken ribs are just them trying to make shit up to make it seem like he was actually hit by a car. I think he legitimately might have a torn pec though, so he's going to be out for a few months at least.
God damn it. Dude, why is it every time Elias gets momentum, like some fuck shit happens? God damn it.
What happened last time? I forget.
Well, because I feel like, by fuck shit, it's not always like an injury, but like he was faced the last time, and then WWE was just like, oh, I guess we need heels, and then they just cut that short.
Right.
So it's either like booking or it's some bullshit, and it's like, can the man live? Because I feel like he could give so much, you know, and it's like, the world's just like, no. I feel like he really is going to be one of those stars where when we're doing those lists of like what could have been, Elias's name is going to come out of our mouths, and I hate it.
Yeah. He's unfortunately, and I hate to even use this name because he never ended up winning really much in WWE, but it feels like another case of like a Wade Barrett situation where it's like this main eventer waiting to happen, and you know they get ready to push him, and then something wrong goes down. And they eventually just write him off and stop trying, and they kill his passion and whatever.
Yeah. So weird angle. I at least give, I guess if I could give any credit, silver lining and all that stuff, at least SmackDown's trying to do, I guess, more like edgy angles in a way, but it just still comes off as so lazy. So that's really all I have to say about that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, what do you think is the most personal feeling feud on Raw right now?
God, I wouldn't even be able to answer you. I guess Seth Ray, right? I guess.
I mean, but that really is only personal because one of them, just took it too far,
Yeah.
Whereas with Sheamus and Jeff, that feels personal for other reasons.
Yeah, I just don't know if I personally like those reasons, but that's on me.
No, you're right. No, that's fair. That's fair. I don't want you to feel like it's something that you should be faulted for feeling. I think that's a perfectly valid thought.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you have anything else you want to add, we can move on, I guess.
Let's move on then. Up next, let's talk about the actual, intercontinental situation, because we were talking about, the fact that Sheamus won the Battle Royal. And then in the main event last week, we got Bryan versus Sheamus. Brian Hardy showed back up after having been arrested and distracted Sheamus, which allowed Bryan to get the knee plus. And then afterwards, immediately, Sheamus just gets jumped on by Jeff Hardy. So Jeff beats the hell out of him. And then this week, Jeff opened the show and literally told us, like, Sheamus tried to frame him for drunk driving. He said that when he was at the station, there were several eyewitnesses that said that they saw a guy perpetrating everything and that he had red hair and a red beard. And so obviously he knew then that it was Sheamus. Sheamus came out, told Jeff to take responsibility for his actions, and Jeff then ended up attacking Sheamus, but Sheamus got the upper hand and ended up hitting Jeff with a brogue kick and standing tall.
Yeah, just kind of walking it back a little bit. Funny that they have the Bryan Sheamus matchup end with like a distraction because they want to keep the door open for that WrestleMania 37 match that Vince is jonesing for. And then as far as this week, I mean, yeah, not bad. I just... it's funny, dude, because I don't know if it's I don't care about either of these guys. Like, if I just don't like somebody do something.
Go to HR, Michael.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I just, I was enjoying that. But, like, what do either of these guys do from here? I don't know. I don't know. Fight. We'll see how it goes. But what was that?
They fight.
Yeah, they do. And I'm guessing Jeff would get the win here. I don't know, because they're both older guys too. So it's like, what do you want to do with either of these guys? It's not like I could be like, wow, that Sheamus has a really bright future, or wow, that Jeff, he's sure going places. So I guess just a lot's up in the air.
They've both already been places.
Exactly. So yeah. I guess that's all I feel about it. I'm just kind of meh on this angle right now.
All right. Then, continuing along the lines of the Intercontinental Championship, but getting away from the Hardy-Sheamus stuff, we got a face-to-face with Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles tonight with Renee Young as the mediator. Bryan basically said that he wants to give opportunities to people because he wants there to be a chance that somebody could be tuning into SmackDown and saying, oh, that's my favorite. He might get a chance. He might be able to beat Daniel Bryan and win the Intercontinental Championship tonight. He wants to give fans what they want. And AJ just sees that as a handout and says that he's going to reach across the aisle and give Drew Gulak an opportunity tonight. And he does, and he loses.
Yeah, great for Drew, though. To get a win like this.
I guess Drew re-signed some kind of contract with them or something. Either that or he's at least just working on a per appearance basis. But I think he signed a new contract, didn't he? Wasn't that a thing that came out recently?
I thought it was a thing that came out, yeah.
Good for him. Good for you, Drewski.
Yeah, really fun match. Great to see Drew get a win. I still hope he wins the Intercontinental title somehow.
I'm telling you, man,
see that title
I would not be surprised at all if they had Bryan lose to AJ and then Drew challenge AJ and beat him to show, like, oh my God, is Drew Gulak really actually better than Bryan? And then set up another match between them, except this time the IC title's on the line.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we'll see what goes with that, but I just love that Red Maga Styles is, like, talking about handouts and shit. Like, I'm waiting for – because somebody said that AJ still needs to win the tag titles because that's one title he hasn't held either. Just team up with Braun. Perfect gimmick. Like, Braun talking about how food stamps are a crime, and AJ's like, you know what? You're right. and somehow working flat Earth in there and some shit. I don't know. I feel like
that would almost be even more perfect too, then, because Braun has already won the tag team titles with a literal child. So if anyone's taking handouts in that, it's AJ.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, wait a minute, am I becoming everything that I hate? No, I deserve this.
I'm still phenomenal. I worked so damn hard for this. I deserve the shit out of it.
I could go even further with this, but I'm pretty sure we're going to get sued by somebody if I keep going with my stream of consciousness. So anyway.
You got to fill me in. You just keep that in your mind so that you can fill me in on what you were going to say when we're done here.
Sure, maybe, possibly. But yeah, great mic work from both people. I'm honestly shocked that this isn't going to happen.
Great mic work. There's a new name for a YouTuber. Better than good mic work.
Oh my God, we're not trying to start turf wars, or are we?
No, we respect good mic work. He's all right.
Yeah, we kind of stay in our area. Everybody's cool. But yeah, Brian was great here. AJ was funny here, which it's just good stuff. And I'm surprised this match isn't happening at Backlash. Is Backlash like a Raw pay-per-view? Is that how they're treating this? Because are there any SmackDown matches?
That's a good question. Why don't I look it up? Backlash 2020. Wikipedia. Tell me everything. Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus and Braun Strowman versus The Miz and John Morrison.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I had the worst brain fart. Of course, the Universal title. I should have remembered that. That's on me. But yeah, it just feels weird then that I double down. This feels weird that this isn't on Backlash. How do you not put something like this on Backlash? Unless
there's going to be a fucky finish.
A fucky finish, like a double count out or something. We still don't have an IC champion, and then you do it definitively at Backlash. So I might even predict that, honestly.
Maybe they even implement Drew into the triple threat. Then AJ can be like, this isn't fair. This ain't no triple threat. That's a farce. This is a 2-on-1 handicap match.
But Alan, Drew fucking beat you last week. So that doesn't matter. He lost in the tournament, and that's what matters. Oh, God.
Oh, so you're telling us that it doesn't matter if you win. All that matters is when you win now.
The gay community.
Oh, my God. You would go there.
Because they just fucking break AJ. So, yeah, good stuff from them, and that's all I've got to say about that. I can't wait to see what they do next week.
All right. Now we can get to our finale. I feel like this is going to be our shortest catch-up commentary ever.
Let's keep it going.
Then again, what we're about to talk about, you might want to go off on a little bit. And not in a bad way either, but in an actual good way, because we're both very excited about this. The moment of bliss last week was supposed to be with the New Day, but it got interrupted by Sasha and Bayley, who challenged Alexa and Nikki for the tag titles, which they happily accepted. But then Bayley actually volunteered Sasha again into a match, this time with Bliss, which Sasha won. She beat Bliss clean, well, clean-ish. She got a distraction from Bayley, but distractions don't, we'll still call it clean if there was no physicality involved, right? So then this week they got their tag title match and they won.
Hooray! Yeah, I would go off, but really I feel like I did that more on Twitter kind of with a shit ton of retweets just now. I will just say that, again, I think Bayley's one of the best in the world right now. Her and Asuka, have I ever... No, I could have you look this up, but I really don't want you to because I don't want us to get sidetracked. Because I'm wondering if I've ever given a woman, maybe I did give Becky Lynch Superstar of the Year this past year that we did TWitWoW Year End Awards. Getting that spot is rare-ish. Becky just had such an incredible... Yeah, sure. Becky just had such an incredible, out-of-the-box run to me. But
Are we talking about Superstar of the Year?
Yes.
You gave it to Bray, I gave it to Brian.
Oh, see, yeah, and to be fair, maybe I even robbed Becky because she had a great fucking year. But yeah, if a woman was to do it for me this year, it's either going to be Bayley or it's going to be Asuka. These two are killing it. She's hilarious. I've already said that Bayley's kind of a new Kevin Owens to me with her trash talk. She delivers in the ring, pulling really fun matches out of people that I love that she keeps volunteering Sasha for shit and cutting her off. I'm just waiting for Sasha to just be like, this bitch, and just shut it down. So I'm invested in the story. We just need a payoff. And yeah, I love that they're women's tag team champions. I love this because now, if you do want to wait for them to have a match, you have the perfect vehicle now, a tag title reign. You could do Iconics. You could do Bliss Cross again in a rematch. You could do Babyface Kabuki Warriors. Holy shit. And then, if Babyface Kabuki Warriors doesn't do it, if Io gets called up, Kairi will be like, it's okay, Asuka. You go. Yeah, Kairi could be like, listen, Asuka, remember when you said you were going to win Money in the Bank for us? Well, I'm going to win the women's tag titles for us, but you focus on being Raw Women's Champion. I got backup. Cue Io debut. You can do it, dude. If they want to wait for crowds to come back to do Sasha versus Bayley, which I get.
Give them a tag title run to be remembered, goddammit.
Exactly, because people are afraid that they're going to be transitional champs. Don't do it. Do you realize how much more? I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm just saying generally. Do you realize how much more satisfying this angle will be if you make them legit tag champions while the chasm just deepens? Like, nobody does that. But like that's just never been done because when Shawn and Cena feuded, they gave them the tag titles as a prop. Miz and Cena tag titles as a prop. I'm noticing a trend here. But like if
John
you give
Cena
them
winning titles for no fucking reason.
But like if you give them a legit tag title reign, which you should, just given the history with those women and those titles, like yeah, then people are gonna pop off when it's like, oh god, we got a great tag title run, and now we're dovetailing into the program.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you, God. And then, like, up there, it's like, but I didn't do anything. It was, and no, it's okay. I'm used to it. That whole Family Guy gag. And, like, it's just amazing. Like, you can do it. They gave them the perfect vehicle to buy time and qualitatively to not have it suffer. I love it. Now, the question is, though, does WWE realize everything that I just said?
No.
Because that's always the question. And that's the disappointing answer right there,
Dude,
if it's right.
I love the retweet. I love the tweet that you retweeted of Bayley saying that she was so happy that she was going to cry on the floor.
Yes. Troll, Bayley troll.
And she even followed it up with hashtag sheep idiots.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
She's so good.
I adore her, dude. Like, I don't think I've ever been a bigger Bayley fan. This is very similar to
I
my
can't wait for our 5 Fave 5s, which I probably should have put on this week's schedule, or this month's schedule, because we should do that this month. We were planning on doing it after Dominion, but, Dominion probably isn't happening, so we'll have to figure it out. Let me actually look and see when Dominion 2020. Here we go. When was it supposed to be? It was supposed to be the 14th. So that would have been the same day as Backlash. Wow. That's ballsy as hell.
Yeah.
So we'll probably do Fave 5s on like Thursday the 25th. Well, no, that's Q&A, so we can't. So maybe Tuesday the 23rd. We'll probably do 5 Fave 5s on Tuesday the 23rd. I'll have to add that to the schedule.
I'm down. I fucking love 5 Fave 5. You know that.
I know you do, bud.
But what was like? There was something I wanted to say. Oh, yes. This is very similar to like my Kane fandom in like 02 to 03, where like before I always thought Kane was like cool, didn't have a problem with him, but like then whatever it was, like I was super into it. It's same with Bayley. Like I always liked Bayley, never had a problem with her, especially relative to Charlotte. But what she's doing right now, I have never been a bigger Bayley fan than I am right now. It's just amazing. Just absolutely amazing. And the difference is, unlike Kane, who I became a fan of at the worst time because it was the Triple H reign of terror, Bayley's doing everything. It's her reign of terror, and I'm here for it. I'm like, fuck all of you. It's still her turn. Oh, God, it's wonderful. It's wonderful until Kyrie may potentially get shaken back up at some point, and then I'll just want Kyrie to just dethrone Bayley everything. So, yeah, I love everything about this. I'm loving what Sasha and Bayley are doing because they're better than everyone else, and everyone just needs to fucking get over it and deal with it and get on their level, suck less. And yeah, they're my tag champions forever. Bayley is the women's champion just for life and just such a dominant reign. Fuck you, Charlotte. Asuka, we're still cool though. I still fuck with you. You know you're awesome. And yeah. Women be fucking killing it right now. Are they still drawing, by the way, in the ratings? Are they still like?
I haven't been keeping up with it, man.
I hope so. And then I hope it's like, hey, Charlotte, this is what people liking you actually looks like. But people on Twitter support me. Yeah, it's because they have no taste. That's what I want Bayley to say to Charlotte. That'd be amazing. Or no, she wouldn't even say they have no taste. She'd say that they're just sheep. That's right.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right.
Sheeple.
So I'm sure you're looking up like the numbers, so we'll see if they're still drawing.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't looking up the numbers. No, I wasn't.
Oh, Oh, fair enough. Well, then I've really got nothing else to say, friend. Do you have anything you want to add about the women?
I don't think so, sir.
Okay, so we do high spots and low shots. God, it feels good to really get through one of these. Yeah, we do these, right?
Speak for yourself.
Beg pardon?
Speak for yourself.
I knew the moment I said it, you were going to latch onto it. I was kind of hoping when you didn't latch. But wow, we're addressing that later.
No, we're not. It's never going to happen.
So, low shot, Mojo, because Mojo.
God.
Yeah, who's
Fuck. God. Really low shot SmackDown management for making that call, but no. Let's see. Who is my low shot? Are you really sticking with Mojo as your low shot? That seems like a waste of a low shot to me.
It's easy and it's effective. I'm really not in the mood to like hate on anybody except for his face because he's still awful. So
okay, I guess my low shot then, since it's kind of a combined low shot from these 2 weeks and the previous 2 weeks since our last heads-up commentary, we didn't do high spots, low shots. It's going to be the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits, all 4 of them. Like they've all been doing nothing but awful content on the shows every Monday. So I feel bad for those individual guys because obviously they aren't the ones that are like, oh yeah, and then you're going to go bowling.
Yeah.
So they're my low shots because I feel really bad for them because they're all talented dudes. I genuinely do think that like Montez is this freaky athlete. Angelo Dawkins is actually a surprisingly good worker and he's athletic as hell for his size too. And he has like this amateur wrestling background. And the Viking Raiders, like you already gave them the credit that they deserve, talking about how they're one of the best tag teams of this generation. But they're fucking eating turkey legs and bowling and playing goddamn golf and shit, and it's just trash. I hate it.
It sucks eggs. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize for what you said. Just apologize for how you said it, because that was loud as hell and it damn near injured my ears.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you'll learn next time before you're like, no, we're not talking about it. So I think we're all even here.
Wow, the petty right now. Fuck, man.
I'm very emotionally maladjusted. High spot. I mean, it's easy, isn't it? Fucking Bailey. And Bailey. She's fucking Bailey both belts. Fuck yeah. Exactly. Just that, exactly. Who's your high spot?
That was my happy sound.
Yeah, it was. Who's your high spot?
My high spot? Oh, if it can't be Bailey. I mean, shit, man. You made this really difficult for me.
Just share with me. Go sharesies.
No, it's Apollo Crews because he won the United States Championship last week, and then he beat Andrade again this week.
You know what? That's fair. All right. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Well, you know what? We're here. We haven't said this publicly, even though we've been tweeting about it. So let's just say it verbally now while we have the chance. Black Lives Matter.
Black lives fucking matter. Solidarity to all the protests, and I'm going to keep it at that because, again, I don't want us to get sued. But you guys know what to do. Keep the fight fucking going. Love you guys. And with that said, this has been WWE Catch-Up Commentary, past 2 weeks of Raw and SmackDown. I'm John. That's my co-running commentary, Ashton. And this has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. Guys, we have 5 likes. Somebody disliked. Not going to cry about it tonight. I'm not. Shut up. We have 10 people still watching, so if you haven't yet, please leave a like. We would greatly appreciate it. Be sure to click the subscribe button. Click the bell icon for notifications so you never again miss any of that sweet, sweet TWitWoW goodness. And yeah, just thank you all for joining us. All of our socials and details are in the background and in the description box. And we will see you Sunday at, what, Ashton, 7 p.m.?
Yep, correct.
For NXT TakeOver in your house, which it looks like a stellar card.
In my
Can't wait
house?
for it. Yeah, I know. It's very invasive, but you'll get used to it. You'll adapt. It seems like a really fun card. Seems like it's going to be a great show, and I hope to see all you guys there. And until then, like I always like to sign off these days, stay safe, be good to yourself, be good to each other, love yourselves and each other, and just keep the positivity going. And we're always so grateful when you invite us into your screens just to keep the quarantine just a bit saner and a bit more entertaining than what it might be otherwise. So with that said, guys, until then, tune in. Peace out.